Okay, so for our macro cycle, which is Megan Trahan, Avery Andrus, and Madison Duhon, we chose a power lifter who is a female. Her name was Lisa. She's 21 years old and she's 5 foot 3 inches tall and 125 pounds. And so the sport of powerlifting is basically a 1 rep max in the bench, the squat, and the deadlift. And the muscular involvement of powerlifting includes the thighs, hips, hamstrings, glutes, and spinal erectors from the squat and the deadlift. And the major muscle for the bench press is chest. And the type of strength is low speed strength. And let's see. So she was an intermediate powerlifter. And she was intermediate because she's only been consistently resistance training for about 6 months. She played sports growing up, was super active, but the athlete has not done much resistance training since high school. So she would run 2 to 3 times a week to maintain her cardiovascular health, and she joined a gym about 9 months ago and would do mostly cardio and light machines. And she wanted to get into powerlifting, so she began a beginner powerlifting program that she found online. And 3 weeks ago, she competed in her first powerlifting meet after finishing the 6 month, 2 to 3 times a week resistance training beginner powerlifting program. And she has no injuries. And the main goals of this macro cycle was to increase her maximum muscular strength, which is low speed strength, and that's 1 rep max, and the bench squat and deadlift, which is powerlifting. And let's see. So the test that we designed for her were the Megaria-Kalaman test, 1 rep max, and the power clean, the back squat, bench press, deadlift, and the sit and reach. And we put them in this order because you want to do your explosive movements first, such as the Megaria-Kalaman test and the power clean, because they're not as fatiguing as the 1 rep max and the back squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. And we put the back squat, bench press, and deadlift in this order because that is the way it is designed for a powerlifting meet, in that order. In the sit and reach, you'd want to do that last because you do not want to do static stretching before doing those types of movements. So that would be last. And then her results are 9.5 inches, 185 pounds for the back squat, 105 pounds for the bench press, 200 pounds for the deadlift, and 125 pounds for the power clean, and 1,300 watts for the Megaria test. And the periodization model that we chose for Lisa would be linear, and that is because she is intermediate. So, linear periodization program is a traditional resistance training periodization model with gradually progressing mesocycles increasing in intensity over time. And we chose linear for an intermediate powerlifter because she's still pretty new to the sport, so she can benefit pretty greatly from a linear periodization model rather than an undulating. So that's pretty much it for that, for the intro. And here's a outline of our macro cycle. So it's 52 weeks, 1 year, and it was composed of a preparatory period, which is the off season, first transition period, which is preseason, competition period, which is in season, and the second transition period, which is post. So as you can see, our mesocycles, we have 5 of them total, and then we have 14 total microcycles. And here's the average volumes. Like, these are the volumes for her main lifts. So for like the bench squat and the deadlift, these are her volumes. It's not for every single lift we did the same volumes, but this is like the basics. And this is the intensities for her main lifts. And as you can see, they do progressively increase over time. And then here are the volume loads. So starting out, the volume loads pretty moderate, and then it increases over the microcycles, and then it peaks about right here, which is starting in the basic strength phase, and then that kind of starts decreasing leading up to the meet. You want to decrease the volume load leading up to the meet. And as you can see in these microcycles, we didn't have anything because that was a meet day. And then the 5th mesocycle, that doesn't have anything either because we didn't put any of the core lifts for the last mesocycle. So it was just basically like light accessories and some aerobic exercise. So that doesn't have any intensity, volume, load, or volume. All right, so moving on to the first mesocycle. Okay. So this period is the preparatory and the sub period is general preparatory, and this is the off season. So this is the first mesocycle, and this is a general physical training phase. And the duration it was 16 weeks, which is 4 months, and the main goal of this phase is to increase neuromuscular functioning and hypertrophy with a secondary goal to get in better overall shape by increasing aerobic and anaerobic capacity and muscle endurance. This phase is very important to create an adequate base for the athlete to improve off of. It is also important to have overall a strong base to reduce the risk of injury and optimize increases in strength. Focuses in this phase will be performing basic strength movements with correct form, fixing muscle imbalances, developing core strength, and increasing the function of stability muscles. So during this mesocycle, the intensity will be low to moderate and range from 50 to 75% of her 1 rep maxes, while the volume will be pretty high at 8 to 20 reps for 3 to 6 sets. So there's 4 microcycles within this first mesocycle. In the first microcycle, the volume is high, intensity is low. So in this cycle, it's 4 weeks and it has a focus on aerobic and anaerobic conditioning, muscle endurance, flexibility, mobility, increased functioning of stability muscles, and increased core strength. So as you can see down here, the microcycle, we have the workouts written out for each day of the week. And then the volume load from microcycle 1 right here. And then here is our Monday example full workout. So we started off with mobility, dynamic stretching, core activation warm up, as you can see right here, to get the blood flowing, get her warmed up real well to avoid injury. And then we go into core strength. So core strength is very important because everything is connected to the core. It's the base of the body, and you use your core in almost every single lift. Well, pretty much every lift. So that's very important for this first microcycle. And then we go into the core movements. So this is going to be muscular endurance resistance training. So the reps are going to be pretty high, which are at 15 for here. And we're doing 3x15 at 50%. So we have the squat, the bench press, the deadlift, 3x15. Then we go into her accessories. So we have a couple of compound sets, and then we're going to finish her off with a circuit. And everything is basically muscle endurance based. And then we're going to finish the Monday workout with a high intensity anaerobic conditioning circuit. So we have some high knees, lunge jumps, sprint, and then rest. So this is just basically getting the athlete in good shape, getting some hypertrophy going, and just all around getting her in better shape. Okay, so for microcycle 2, we have high volume and low intensity again. And this microcycle will also be 4 weeks with a focus on hypertrophy and performing power, accessory, and core strength movements with proper form. And the workouts will still be 3 days a week and be total body hypertrophy focused. So as you can see, we added in, it's pretty much the same as micro 1. We just added in some power movements such as the power clean. And then we also added in box jumps. So this is just getting those type 2 fibers and that recruitment going, which will benefit her in the bench, squat, and deadlift. All right, so as you can see, this is pretty much the same stuff. The reps are just lower. We have 3x12, and the intensity will increase here. All right, so moving on to microcycle 3. It's going to be a volume load of 13,950, and then we have mobility, power, hypertrophy, lower body resistance training. So micro 3, we did a 4-day split, lower body, upper body, lower body, upper body. And the goal here is pretty much the same goals as the second microcycle, such as hypertrophy and performing power, accessory, and core strength movements with proper form, but it will have a higher intensity and volume load. Workouts will be 4 days a week in upper body, lower body, and then this will allow for the athlete to get a more focused hypertrophy workout while promoting better recovery times. So that is the reason for that. And as you can see, micro 3, we have our example down here. So this is a lower body example. So we have her warm up, core activation, mobility. Then we go into power clean. So here we go 4x5 at 87%, and then box jumps again. And then this is a hypertrophy focused resistance training instead of the muscle endurance. So the reps will be a little lower, intensity will be increased. We have 3x10, 3x10, 3x10. We also added some overhead squat and Romanian deadlift to get the volume load up. The overhead squat will increase her core strength, and the Romanian dead will increase the strength in her posterior chain and her hamstrings. So that will help out her deadlift and her squat. Then we have her accessory work. And we have a lot more legs right here because the workouts are lower body, upper body focused. So we can kind of hype up the volume during those workouts because we're not doing the upper body as well. So that's pretty much it for micro 3. Micro 4, volume load is 14,320, so it's still increasing. And we still have the lower body, upper body splits. So this microcycle will also be 4 weeks long, with the main goal being hypertrophy. Workouts will be 4 days a week with lower body and upper body splits. In our example down here. So same warm up pretty much. Power cleans. Intensity is increased right here. We have 5x3 at 93%. Box jumps. So now it's 4x8 at 80%. So we just increase the intensity. Now, instead of overhead squats, we have front squats and Romanian deadlifts. So these, we went lower reps, heavier weights, and then the accessories. All right, so let's see. All right, moving on to mesocycle 2. This is still the preparatory period, but it's specific preparatory, and it's still the off season. So this is the basic strength, sport-specific physical training phase of the preparatory phase. So the goal during this phase is to increase strength in sport-specific exercises. The duration of this microcycle will be 21 weeks, about 5 months. And during this mesocycle, the intensity will be high and range from 80 to 95% of her 1 rep maxes, while volume will be moderate at 2 to 6 reps. Moderate to high at 2 to 6 reps and 2 to 6 sets. During this mesocycle, we will start the volume high and begin to drop it off while the intensity will continue to increase. So we have 3 microcycles. Ideally, a microcycle could be like a couple days to a week to 2 weeks. But for the sake of the project and not having so many example workouts, we did do these microcycles 7 weeks long. Realistically, that's not really a thing, but for the sake of the project, that's what we decided to do. So 7 weeks long, first microcycle, volume high, intensity high, and the main goal will still be hypertrophy. Workouts will be 4 days a week with lower body, upper body splits. Overall volume will be very high during micro 1, but will begin to decrease during the next 2 microcycles. So moving on to the example. Here we have micro 1, volume load 22,050, and then the example. So we have her warm up, power clean, increasing the volume at 6 sets of 3 at 93%. So volume is pretty high during this microcycle. And then we added a vertical jump just to switch it up because she is working mostly in the sagittal plane. So we did want to get some vertical jumps in there. So we have a broad jump plus a vertical jump, 3 sets of 3 of each. And then her hypertrophy focus resistance training workout. So the back squat, 6x6, the back squat deadlift. Yeah, this is lower body. Okay, back squat deadlift, 6 sets of 6 at 85%. Her front squats are also 6 sets of 6, as the Romanian deadlifts are 2. So this is her lower body core movements, accessories, lower body. All right, so moving on to micro 2. So here it's also 7 weeks, and the main goal will be strength, and the secondary goal will be hypertrophy. Workouts will be 5 days per week, so that will be higher than the previous microcycles. Volume will decrease during microcycle 2, while intensity will increase. Bands and chains will also be incorporated during this time to really overload her. So micro 2. We have the volume load at 14,500. And then we split it up into 5 days a week. So we have chest, shoulders, triceps, strength resistance training, lower body, back, traps, and biceps, and then chest, shoulders, triceps, and then lower body again. So here's an example of a lower body workout. We have her warm up, power clean, 6 sets at 3, 93%, the jumps, and then we have, no wait, sorry, that's micro 1, micro 2 right here. Okay. Okay, so we did 5x5 at 87%. So we raised the intensity while volume dropped. And then we have deadlift 5x5 at 87%, front squat 5x5, Romanian deadlift 5x5. And then the lower body accessories. Micro 3. Okay. So here the volume will be moderate, so it'll drop, and intensity will be high. This microcycle will also be 7 weeks long, with the main goal being strength now. So workouts will be 5 days a week, and volume will decrease during microcycle 3 while intensity will increase. And the example right here. So power clean 5x2, 95%, getting heavy there. Back squat 5x4 at 90, deadlift 5x4 at 90, front squat Romanian deads, and then her accessory work. All right. So her accessory work is getting heavier as so are the core movements. So during these microcycles, we are doing lower reps during the accessory work, but they're still getting some hypertrophy work from them. Just keeping that good base for her. So moving on to mesocycle 3. So now this is the first transition period, and it's a pre-competitive period, which is also called preseason. So this mesocycle will be 1 month long. It is the strength power phase. But since the athlete sport is powerlifting, strength is the ultimate goal over power. The main goal during this phase is to get the athlete as strong as possible before the main competition phase, in which she will be competing and have her meet. The intensity during this phase will be low to very high at 30 to 85% of 1 rep max to 87 to 95% of 1 rep max. Volume will be low at 2 to 5 sets with 2 to 5 repetitions. So there's 2 microcycles within this third mesocycle. The first micro, the volume will be high and the intensity will be low. So the first microcycle will be 2 weeks with a focus on strength and power. Workouts will be 5 days per week, and bands and chains will be incorporated to optimize stability and strength before the next competition phase in which she will be competing. So here is a weekly layout of her microcycle 1. The volume load is 12,300. And here's an example. So power cleans, intensity still pretty high here. Then this is the strength focused resistance training core movements. back squat, deadlift, 5x3, 93%. But here we have bands to add some resistance. And here we have 15 pounds in chains. So we're really overloading her during this microcycle. Let's see. Okay, so then here are her accessories. In micro 2, volume will be high, intensity will be low again. This will be 2 weeks long with a focus on strength and power, but intensity and volume will be higher than micro 1. So let's see. All right, so now we have 4x2 at 95%, which is heavier, and with the bands. And then 4x2 at 95% with the 10 pounds in chains. And then 4x4, 4x4 here, and then her accessories. So this phase, we're just really overloading her system before the fourth mesocycle, which is the end season. So here we kind of begin peaking her. So this mesocycle will be 4 weeks long. And for an intermediate powerlifter, especially a female, and being as small as Lisa is, you want to begin deloading them about 1 week prior to competition. But like if you had a much more advanced, larger male powerlifter who was lifting way more weight than her, you would want to do the deload earlier. So you would want them to do their heavy singles, heavy doubles earlier before the competition. But with Lisa, you can start doing that about a week before, because females, they also lose their fitness faster than males. So you want to deload them closer to the meet so they don't lose that strength and fitness level. So here we have the amount of working sets is the main cause of fatigue. Therefore, intensity will remain high until about 1 week before the meet, like I said, and there will be 2 weeks of the highest intensity of the whole macro cycle, followed by 1 week of deloading, followed by the meet, which is the next week. So the main goal of the majority of this phase is to drop fatigue as much as possible so that athlete can perform optimally and peak for her competition. Another goal of this mesocycle is to enhance specificity. Therefore, after microcycle 1 is complete, only the 3 main powerlifting lifts and light accessory work will be programmed. So we're going to be taking out the box jumps, the power cleans, and all that because we want to enhance the specificity. So for micro 1, the volume load will be low and intensity will be high. This microcycle will be 1 week long, with the main goal being strength and overreaching. Intensities for power exercises will be dropped, while intensities for core will remain high, and workouts will be 5 days a week. So as you can see, we have 9,750 volume load, 5 days a week. Our example is right here. So 5x3 at 50%. We really drop the intensity here, but we're still doing this movement during this microcycle. And here we have 6 sets of 2. So this is a very high volume load, very high intensity, and a pretty high volume load. So we're kind of like overreaching her right here before we deload her. So these are pretty heavy, pretty high volume. Going to microcycle 2. The volume will be low, intensity will be high. So microcycle will be 1 week long. After overreaching in microcycle 1, a volume taper will begin in the cycle. Intensity will increase and volume will decrease. It will consist of heavy gym singles in each of the lifts with light accessory work. Workouts will be 3 days per week instead of 5. So Monday will be heavy singles with light accessory work, and Wednesday and Friday will only be light accessory total body work. And the reason for that would just be to allow her to recover after hitting those heavy singles and just enhance blood flow and recovery. So, microcycle 2, we have our example for the week. Volume load of 1,620, heavy singles in the bench squat and deadlift, and then some light resistance training the last 2 days. So, here's our example. We have no power cleans, no box jumps in this one. So we have 2x1 at about 100%. So by this point, the athlete should be well over her previous maxes. So this is the goal for this microcycle. But I mean, with anything, you're going to just kind of fill it out as you go about it. So if she feels like it's there, then it's there. But you just want her to hit two very, very heavy singles. But you don't want her to miss any reps. So this is like an estimate of what she would hit, but realistically, we don't know. And then some light accessory work. So 3x8 light, 3x8 light. So here we don't want to do the reps too high to fatigue her because we want to decrease her fatigue as much as possible. But we do want to keep her in shape. So moving on to the next microcycle, which is microcycle 3. The volume will be low, intensity will be low now. So this microcycle will be 1 week, and this is a intensity taper. An intensity taper will begin in this cycle. It will be 1 week of deloading with the main goal to recover, avoid fatigue, and peak the athlete for the following next meet week. And workouts will only be 2 days a week now. So microcycle 3, here's the week, 1,470 volume load. Now we have explosive low intensity resistance training 2 days a week. So we split that up on a Monday and a Friday. So that's pretty far apart. You want her last workout to be about 2 to 3 days before the meet to give her time to rest. Okay, so example of micro 3. Let's see. So now we have explosive back squat, very, very light, 55%, 2 sets of 3, speed bench, and deadlift. So we're just doing all that in one day. She's just going to be in and out pretty quick. It'll be a light workout. And from micro 4, we have meet day. So that is just 3 attempts at a 1 rep max in the back squat, bench press, and deadlift. So this is her meet day. So after meet day, let me go back. Okay, so we have our meet day on Monday, and we want her to completely rest the rest of the week. If she wanted to do a little stretching, mobility work, that would be fine, but we do not want her to exercise. And then starting back up after that, it'll be postseason, second transition period, post-competitive period. So this mesocycle will last 4 weeks. This will be the whole month of December if we started the macrocycle in January. And the main goal of this phase is to restore movement function as much as that may have been lost after 11 months of hypertrophy and strength training. Your body's pretty beat up during a powerlifting cycle. This mesocycle is important to make sure that any injuries or false movement patterns that may have developed during the previous mesocycles are fixed and rehabbed. This is also a good time to correct any obvious muscle weaknesses that were exposed during the macrocycle. So say she had a very weak bench press compared to her deadlift and her squat. We'd want her to do a little bit more chest work during this mesocycle. This will allow for a smooth transition into the next preparatory period of the next macrocycle. So, like I said, address any injuries that she may have accumulated. Very basic, consisting of 2 days a week of total body low intensity resistance training with low to moderate aerobic training. So just keeping her body mobile and moving and just keeping the blood flow and just allowing her a month to kind of take a step back from training and recover. But we don't want her to lose too much fitness, so she is trying to maintain some of that during this cycle. There will be no volume load for this microcycle due to there being no core lifts incorporated during the workouts. So, as you can see, we have mobility, low intensity, total body resistance training, and low to moderate intensity aerobic. So here is our final meso and microcycle workout, which she will be doing in the postseason. So we always have her mobility and dynamic stretching and core activation warm up, which is very important. And I just did 2 circuits during this microcycle, and they're pretty total body. So we have kettlebell swings, 10 reps, kettlebell walking lunges and dumbbell Arnold press, weighted planks, kettlebell RDLs, tricep extension, and bicep curls. And also some aerobic training, 20 minutes total of 2 minute of light jog and a 1 minute walk. So that sums up our whole macro cycle.